The history of football begins in 1869, the year the English Football Association was founded, although its origins, like the other football codes, date back several centuries, particularly in the British Isles during the Middle Ages, although there were points in common between different ball games that were developed since the years of the 3rd century BC. The first British codes that gave rise to football were characterized by their little organization and extreme violence. However, there were also other less violent codes and better organized. Perhaps one of the best known was Florentine Calcium, a very popular team sport in Italy that had an impact on the codes of some British schools. The definitive formation of football had its culminating moment during the 19th century. In 1848, representatives from different English schools met at the University of Cambridge to create the Cambridge Code, which would serve as the basis for the creation of modern football regulations. Finally, in 1863 in the City of London the first rules of football were made official. Since then football has had constant growth until now becoming the most popular sport in the world with about 270 million people a day involved, today being a total of more than 4,000 million football fans. With the first meeting of the International Football Association Board in 1886 and the founding of FIFA in 1904, this sport has expanded to reach all corners of the world. Starting in 1930, the World Cup of Soccer would begin to be played, which would become the sporting event with the largest audience in the world. In the mid-19th century, Britain began a regulatory process for carnival football, establishing written rules that could be widely shared. At that time, football was played among students in private secondary schools with very imprecise rules that varied considerably from school to school. In some schools you could run with the ball in your hands, while in others you couldn't. In some there was an offside line, but in others there was not. In some you could tackle and kick the opposing player, but in others you couldn't. Some promoted a more group game based on passing, including passing forward, while others promoted a more individual game based on the skill dribbling and strength of each player. And in each school there were infinite variants and modifications. In the 1840s, Britain greatly developed its railway network, allowing people to travel greater distances. This process made it possible to carry out intercollegiate competitions, but soon it became evident that it was necessary to unify the rules, because although they were usually agreed upon before each match, this did not manage to avoid complaints and discussions about what could be done. That could not be done. Although the laws of association football were made official in 1863. The Cambridge rules were taken as the basis for the creation of the current code. Another popular regulation at the time, the Sheffield Rules, also brought important features to the new sport. Although it is difficult to establish an exact and generally accepted date, the birth of football is usually dated October 26, 1863, the day of the founding of the Football Association. Shortly before that date, Ebenezer Cobb Morley had called on the different schools and clubs in London to hold a meeting with the aim of regulating the new football code. From October 26 to December 8, 1863, 6 meetings were held at the Freemasons Tavern with the objective of regulating the code and creating a body to govern the new sport. 12 clubs from different parts of London participated: Barnes, Blackheath Proprietary School, Charterhouse, Civil Services better known as War Office Club, Crystal Palace founded in 1861, not to be confused with the current Crystal Palace Forest of Leytonstone, Future Wanderers FC Kensington, Ben End Football Club, Percival House, Surbiton, and the Crusaders. Since its beginnings, football in England was characterized as amateur. However, since the creation of the FA Cup in 1871 and the charging of tickets to watch matches, footballers began to receive financial offers to play. This received widespread rejection from the English Football Association, bordering on banning professionalism in football. The first club with professional players would have been Dartmouth Football Club, which in 1878 hired 2 Scottish players, James Love and Fergus Suter. The pay recruitment was kept secret, although suspicions were raised when Fergus abandoned his job as a stonecutter in later years. Other clubs followed in the footsteps of Dartmouth FC, although receiving suspensions from the authorities for admitting the use of pay players. After the officialization of the new code, on December 19, 1863, the first official match of this new innovative sport was played. Barnes Rugby Football Club tied without goals with the Richmond Football Club in a match played in Mortlake, London. England at the national team level. The Football Association had played several unofficial matches between its team and a team made up of London players with Scottish roots in the first years of the Football Association's existence. The first official match between teams would come on November 30, 1872, a match that was played at Hamilton Crescent Current Cricket Ground, Partick, Scotland. Before 4,000 people, Scotland and England drew goalless. Both teams wore the clothing they currently wear. The Fédération Internationale de Football Association, better known by its acronym FIFA, was founded on May 21, 1904 in Paris, France by representatives of 8 countries: Belgium, Union Belgique de Sociétés de Sports, Denmark, Dansk Boldspil, Union Spain, Madrid Football Club, France, Union de Sociétés Françaises de Sports Athletiques, Netherlands, Nederlandsch Football Bond, Sweden, Svenska Boldspelsförbundet, and Switzerland, Association Suisse de Football, Germany, Deutscher Fußballbund confirmed its membership on the same day by telegram. Its foundation began to take shape with the holding of the first international meetings between teams not belonging to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Those belonging to it rejected the idea of a world football body. During World War I, FIFA was on the verge of disappearing. Although this did not happen thanks to the work of Karl and Wilhelm Hirschmann. March 1, 1921 would be a date of vital importance in the history of football. Jules Rimet took office as the third president of FIFA in 1929 in Barcelona, Spain. Uruguay was chosen to host the first Soccer World Cup, to be held in 1930. Although Uruguay would pay all the expenses of the participants, many European teams abstained from participating due to the post-war crisis it was experiencing. The old continent,